Before we start, what I'd like to share is the definition of trauma. So my teacher, Dr. Peter Levine, he shares that trauma is not just an event, but perhaps it might be something that didn't happen to us as well over time, like neglect. Or perhaps it could be an experience. And in this workshop, we are going to be talking about sexual abuse, which is an event that happens, or perhaps for some, many events of that nature. And usually in trauma, it's an event that happens too fast, too soon, and it's too overwhelming. It is an event where we do not have choice or agency. So this situation is out of our control. And as a result, our nervous system gets really overwhelmed and we stop being present. We lose connection to ourselves and also to the environment around us. So understanding this as the premise of trauma, when we enter this work, as a therapist, I'm always looking for the antidote. The antidote of what was missing in the traumatic experience. A couple of things that I would like to highlight that could be very helpful for our session today is that I'd like to invite everybody to know that you have choice and agency in everything that I'm sharing with you. This could be perhaps the information that I'm sharing in the theory part, could be a little bit too much for you. Perhaps it's a little bit too triggering. And if so, please feel free to fast forward the video to the exercise. Or perhaps for some of you, because trauma happens too fast, too soon, therefore the antidote is really around following your own time signature and your own pace. So for some of us, we might need to slow down, to take pauses, to feel into our own inner wisdom and what feels just right for us. And for many of us, that takes time and that takes space to kind of sense what feels just right. So at any time in this lecture, if you feel that, perhaps memories might be coming up for you or uncomfortable sensations or emotions, please feel free to even stop the video, get up, acknowledge what's happening inside. Perhaps you can orient a little to your surroundings, to slow yourself down, to bring yourself back into the present moment. And then whenever you feel more regulated, you can start again. So the invitation is, I think that in our society, we learn how to override our emotions a lot. We learn how to override what feels right. So the invitation here is to, follow your own time signature, follow your own pace. There is absolutely no need to override and to really attend to, the parts of us that needs attending to with compassion, with understanding, and with love. This goes as well for the somatic exercise. So, just know that whatever I'm sharing in the exercise are prompts, which you can choose to follow or choose not to follow. It's up to you. And my invitation is that at any time, if anything doesn't feel quite right with what I'm sharing or what I'm saying, please feel free to drop it and follow your own wisdom and your own inner guidance with what feels right in your body. I always say that the body is a little bit like a truth barometer in a way. So the invitation in this session is to pay attention and to respect the truth barometer of your body. And if there's something that doesn't feel quite right for you, please feel free to throw it out and to go with what feels right for you on the inside. So before I start our exercise, I would like to share a little bit around trauma theory, especially with this category of sexual abuse. And I think that it might be helpful information to help you prepare for and to understand what we're doing here together in this somatic exercise. One of the categories of sexual abuse is what we call in somatic experiencing, which is the trauma recovery kind of paradigm that I have used for about 8 years in my practice. It is called an inescapable attack. And in the event of an inescapable attack, or perhaps a sense of neuroception. So neuroception is a word we use in the somatic kind of trauma world, which is this felt sense of danger. It could be real danger. It could also be perceived danger. And what I'd like to share is that the automatic nervous system, which governs our protective responses to keep us safe, there is a reason why it's called automatic. It's called automatic because we actually do not have very much control over our automatic nervous system. All of these responses that I will share with you are very much involuntary, so very much out of our control. So for instance, when we notice in our felt sense, either perceived or real danger, our nervous system can go into a few responses. The first response is called fight. The second is called flight. The third is called freeze. And the fourth is called fawning. And I'll go through that with you. So the fight response is very connected to our sense of anger, where we actually use our physical body to ward off danger. So you'll notice my hands here, right? Yeah. In a fight response, the impulse in the body that comes from the nervous system to keep us safe might be using our hands and pushing away, actually creating a physical boundary with our hands. It could be punching, it could be kicking, it could be, really using our appendages or our body as a way of protecting ourselves. Fight is very connected to the energy or the feeling of anger. And anger is a very important emotion and sensation in the body because anger is also connected to protection and strength and the body feeling that it is strong enough to protect itself. Now, if the body doesn't feel like that is appropriate or that is even a choice, perhaps the perpetrator might be a lot bigger than us, then the next response that our body will go into is a flight response, where we are wanting to run. So the movements that come into the body are a lot of twisting and turning away and using our legs to get ourselves safely to danger, to safety, from danger to safety. So this is another response when we do not feel that a fight is appropriate. We use our body in a flight response, to run away and to bring ourselves out of the dangerous situation into a safer situation. Then we have the fawning and the freezing response, which are kind of interconnected with each other. So the freezing response, which happens involuntarily, is a response where we collapse, okay, and we go limp and we disassociate in order to protect ourselves. With fight or flight, there is very much an I can energy. Yeah, I can get myself to danger. There is a sense of mobilization in the body. But when that is not possible, then the nervous system will go into a freezing response where the focus is more on I can't do it, so therefore the body goes into a protective response, wanting to protect our core, our internal organs, because that's the most important thing to survive. And the body starts to shut itself down. So certain symptoms of this will be, people going into a very kind of collapsed state. They might want to hide. They might become very, very small. Or perhaps there is a sense of numbness that might come up to kind of stop what's happening from being too overwhelming or too intense. Then there is the fawning response as well, and it's called the people-pleasing response. And usually that happens with interpersonal relationships, where we are so afraid of the other person, and a strategy that we have created as human beings to keep ourselves safe is to placate a person that feels dangerous to us. And through that placation and pleasing of the other person, putting their needs before us, we lessen that sense of danger to us. And that's also a way of protecting ourselves and keeping ourselves safe. So I wanted to share some of these nervous system responses, because in my 20 years of working in sexual abuse, sometimes I notice that what can be in the way of recovery is the survivor perhaps feeling ashamed of what happened, or perhaps experiencing self-blame or guilt, or saying, oh, I should have run away, or I should have, done this, or this is my fault. And the thing that I would like to share with everyone today is that it's not your fault. This is an automatic and involuntary system where we don't have control over. So when our body feels that it is under danger, and when it feels too overwhelmed, full stop, you don't have the capacity to fight or to run away. Yeah, because the nervous system, the automatic nervous system, is controlling all of that. However, after the traumatic event, which is what we're doing today in our session, we can start to repattern the freeze. And the way of repatterning the freeze is to move into, or to explore, the fight response, which is underneath the freeze. And we want to bring that out. We want to encourage the body's impulse for mobilization, of protection, of saying no, of saying stop, or whatever the body wanted to do to keep itself safe.